Everybody have their laptops ready and notepads ready and laser beam eyeballs ready for me? All right. So here's your first major controversial Q&A of the day, probably, that'll come up. I'm Brian Wheeler, the lead PvP designer, and we'll get into all the fun things of what you see on the screen. In case anybody is new to it, what AVA means is Alliance versus Alliance. There should be another versus Alliance there, but we wanted to be short and sweet by just saying AVA. So,
Whoever did the PowerPoint turned by letter.
Yeah, that's true. So, who are we? Who is the PvP team? There's a few of us in here. Ben is in the back. He's been with me since Mythic days. Mike Julius is our head artist. He's in here as well. And then a couple other guys downstairs still diligently working on Imperial City at the moment to make sure we get all of the voiceover work in for you guys here when it comes online. So what do we cover? Basically the keeps, seized weaponry, campaign rules, how you get alliance points, how many alliance points you get, any of the content that you fight over. We don't, as much as the forums want me to be the person who answers for all of these things. Player-to-player combat, abilities, items, gear, casting a fireball from your hand or from a staff. That is not our purview, despite the fact that my title is player versus player. It is not player versus player being your abilities, how combat works, etc., etc. So I know that on the forums, Gina, Jess, and I get asked a lot of stuff, and I'm one of the more responding devs. And sorry to disappoint anybody when I say, hey, I have to have the combat team answer it. But you guys will get a chance to ask them directly tomorrow. Eric will be up here, and he'll be able to answer any of the questions regarding those wonderful topics like AE cap, and as well as why doesn't my fireball do this much damage as opposed to that much damage. So the forums, this is where I was going to put up mean tweets and everybody hurts, but I figured we should just say that we read it a lot. Ben reads it, I read it probably the most. Going through feedback, I reply when I can, and on things that I can't reply on, I just say, hey, I pass it along to the appropriate team that can handle it. Stuff like the combat abilities, I pass it over to the guys, and they take a look at it. Things such as crashes or any server instability things, I send those over to the engineering team. Several changes have gone in directly from feedback by you guys and by the forums. Things like campaign rule sets. I know that during some of the guild forum conversations that I hopped into, there were requests for shorter campaigns. Shortly thereafter, we saw that some of the shorter campaigns weren't populated enough, so we reverted that in almost 30 days. There are lots of feedback that we get that we respond to, lots that we catalog, and a lot that we try to change and make sure we get in there for the betterment of the game. But sadly, we have to make sure we get it all in a timely manner without interrupting progress on Imperial City as well. So while some of the updates come in quicker, some takes a little bit longer to get in, and like the poster and door fix, which Rob, he's in here too. He's one of our client programmers. He's done a great job in getting that in. But he and I can testament that was a bitch to nail down. Yeah, so it's not as easy as just fix it. So it sucks, but some of the changes that have gone in, the mercenaries, we play-tested them internally, play-tested them in beta. They were pretty popular, but when they got into the live scenario with tons of people playing them, they turned out to be not so nice. Yeah. So we ripped them out. We figured why have something in there that is not performing the way we wanted to, so we pulled it. It was going to take probably just as long to figure out what was wrong with them as with the post-turn doors. So we were like, let's just pull them for the time being. We don't know if they're going to come back, but at least that's some of the feedback that we reacted to directly. Again, campaign variants, stuff like shorter campaigns, longer campaigns, rewards. I know you have a question. We'll get to the Q&A section at the end. Don't worry. You just write it down. You guys had me for a good hour and a half, 2 hours. And this portion for me is pretty quick. And of course, anti-emperor farming stuff. We've seen a little bit of that. We're still keeping an eye on it. I know that there are still tactics out there players use, but we're still looking. What's next? I can tell you in Update 5, the minimum requirement for buying forward camps. If you guys have read the forums, you know this. We're making a rank requirement on it to start. We'll see how that goes. Some of the other things, like suggestions like resurrecting within the radius of the forward camp, we're looking into doing that right now. Initially, we brought that up, but it was deemed a little, and I use the words directly, scary by our engineers because they didn't want to worry about tracking too much player position enough as is. But they're looking into it again, seeing what they can add to it to make sure it's not as nasty on the server to track player position on the client and the server at the same time to see that they can resurrect there. There's also a little bit of UI work with that involved. It's not just as simple as just make them resurrect in the circle. Anti-tunneling boundaries. We know that people still use rapid mounting, dismounting to get through fixtures. And then when they get through the fixtures, they get into large, flat swaths of terrain that was never built. And they drop forward camps. So we're trying to fix that by putting in basically a teleport barrier, much like the infamous teleport barrier that got disabled in patch 2 or 3, something like that. We have that back on, but it surrounds all of Cyrodiil. So hopefully that'll cut back on a little bit of the forward camping out in the wild, as it were. And buffs going local only. That one is another one to help cut down on the fact where players use campaign Hatteras or Chillrend as their home campaign, go into another campaign with all the buffs from it. That in Update 5 will fix some of those issues where you get the buffs from the campaign you're in only. Hopefully that'll help solve some of it, but we know that doesn't solve all of it. You carry your buffs with you from your home into PvE right now. We're looking at deciphering if we're going to do that or not still. And for future updates, oil pot adjustments, as you guys heard, we're looking at adding a 6-meter minimum distance traveled because oil pots right now, they're being used for tactics other than what they were originally designed to do. They're meant to be defensive position, drop oil on people, not run up in the middle of a field, point blank AE people.
Is the outer hole of the keep 6 meters?
It's 8 meters, so it'll trigger. Yep. And if it was 5 meters, 4 meters, I'd just say 6 meters because that's the one I know offhand. We'll obviously do a hardcore scrub to make sure it does trigger at 6 meters. If it needs to be 4 meters, it's just enough so you can't just be like, F you all, you're dead. So that's what we need to make sure doesn't happen. And Elder Scroll bonus changes. There's been some requests to make them a little bit more, for lack of a better word, sexy. So some of the guys are looking into how to make that a little bit more fancy for people. Of course, that's not it. Other issues we know about are cataloging and making sure we get to them. Population imbalances, we know about those. We have to be aware of the global population, not only in US, but in Europe and coming soon on console. We have to be aware of population across all of those, so we're looking at solutions for how to fix those. There's nothing solid right now, so sadly I can't really talk about it. Spirit of the game antics. It's a nice broad statement for any time you guys report somebody on the forums with big bold letters, Gina, James, get these people banned. We get in touch with CS and we make sure that they are being handled in terms of looking at, we action them when we can, but sadly we can't catch everybody. That's where some of your reports from the forums as well as just in-game come in handy. Crashes both client and server side, we're aware of those, and Rob is here as one of the engineers who looks into those things. We're trying to make sure we catch them all. Unfortunately, Elder Scrolls Online is a big game, and anytime you move one brick out of the Jenga block, who knows where it's going to pop somewhere else. So we try to catch them as we can. And of course, spies and trolls, guesting issues. We're looking at maybe putting tighter restrictions on guesting or just flat out removing it. We'll see what happens in the coming months. But that I know it's another hot issue that people talk about. There are a couple dials we can tweak with that. We can make the guesting cooldown separate from the the home assignment cooldown. We can make one 2 weeks if we felt like it. So there's various styles we can turn. We're looking at what we can possibly do that's not too impactful to make everybody go crazy. So coming soon. I know soon is a relative term that you guys see all the time. It's pretty much trademark, copywritten, smiley face at this point. So we're going to talk about it a little bit now. It's a PvE zone with PvP. The main It's pretty blunt. The main areas are the sewers and the districts. The sewers, it's pretty much a super huge, long public dungeon. And the districts, this is where capture locations are, as well as various events. I'll show you a few of those, but to give you an idea, the arena is taken over by Dromora, and they're having some pretty sick games happening in there. I'll show you basically some fights in there later on. The difficulty has gone back and forth. We've gone from public dungeon to hardcore veteran 14 to veteran 5. So now we're back at. We're pretty happy with the concept that it's kind of a reward zone. Pretty much the fact of once you get access to it, you can go in there with 1 or 2 players, have a good time. It's not necessarily something that is hardcore that's going to require a group or more to run through the content. We want as many people to experience it. Plus, it's a PvP zone. We can't have ridiculously 10 or 12 pulls at once while you're dealing with fighting off Everhard Pack on your back. So it's tuned with not just the content in mind or the player skill or gear in mind, but also the fact that it is a PvP flagged location. Excuse me? It is veteran rank 14. In terms of its, flat out veteran rank of what the monsters are, it's 14. That's how it stands now. We'll see obviously how it hits when it hits the PTS and goes from there. And each campaign will have its own Imperial City. I know that it gets a little bit back to some of the population questions. One thing that we can assure you is that the population in Imperial City, as well as Cyrodiil, as well as the caves in Cyrodiil, as well as the sewers in here, all share the same population cap. So you won't have to worry about, I went into Imperial City, I'm trying to get back into my campaign to help them out, take a keep, and I can't, and I got a queue. Once you're in Imperial City or Cyrodiil, you're considered in all of those things. So you wouldn't have to worry about queuing to get back to where you came from or queuing to get into Imperial City. It's all under the shared same population cap. More PvP in my PvE. I know at QuakeCon we said 1 side at a time. During testing, it just wasn't enough. We tried 2 sides and found it was all right. So we're doing 3 sides allowed at a maximum, but that 3 sides is gated by owning your 6 native keeps. So this adds a third gameplay rule to Cyrodiil. Right now there's capture the 6 keeps around Imperial City to crown your emperor. There's capture the 3 keeps to open up the gates to get to your Elder Scrolls. And this adds the concept of home security. If you secure your 6, then you can go into Imperial City. But if you take 1 from the enemy, they can't get in. If you get lost one of yours, then you can't get in. So it very much adds another gameplay rule as a metagame to Cyrodiil as a whole. Helps spread out some of the population, as well as also make sure that if people do flood into Imperial City, one alliance may be weak, and you can go ahead and take their keeps out in Cyrodiil. So it adds that extra gameplay rule of making sure your home keeps are secure. I know we have the buff in there for owning your own 6 keeps, but that was a lot of the feedback was that's cute, but not enough. So this will hopefully give you a little bit more onus, a little bit more desire to defend your home territory before going out and turning the whole map red or blue or yellow, depending upon which alliance you are.
This replaced the rule that you originally had like that 110 keys.
Yes.
I like it. I think it's going to be far more effective.
And plus, it gets more. It gets a lot more people in Imperial City for the fighting. I mean, it's a PvP zone. Granted, the wipe, running through, burning through, killing everybody on the way is great. But then when you clear them all out, it's like, all right, well, I guess we'll hang out for a bit or log out. We didn't like that, so we're looking at 3 sides. We'll see how it goes with PTS, but we do have the ability to, on a campaign by campaign basis, change the rule set. We could make it on one campaign, it's majority. On another campaign, it's your native 6 plus 1. In another campaign, it can be just your 6. So we do have the ability to do that. We're going to start with 3 sides being able to have access if you own your native keeps, and then you can simply just take it away by taking Ash or taking Chala Mo. I know you guys love that word. So what's in there? The warmer sets. If you guys saw the QuakeCon video, I'll show you also in game in a minute. the Zivkin Imperial Daedric, as they've been getting called. Their official name is Zivkin. They're fancy badass Dremora. They're the guys you saw in the Blur trailer, for lack of a better way to word it. 6 new 8-hour buffs. You know the Mundustone buffs? They're sort of like that, but they're not permanent. They last for 8 hours, and they're AE beneficial. So what that means is I could get a buff in this example, which helps all the range of the restoration staff abilities of anybody near me have 5 more meters. We hooked in all basically the weapon skill lines for this to either give you more range, more effectiveness, or some other variant thereof. We'll nail them all down for you later on, but this is just one example of one of the 6. And we wanted to have a nod to the Divines. Their placement has changed. I also stated in QuakeCon that we were going to have all 8 for the 8 Divines in the Elven Gardens, but we actually changed that. We're putting them in each of the captural districts. There'll be 2 in each of them. So that's a chance to spread out the population as well as give you more of a reason to capture your district. The new crafting style, you'll actually not only be able to kill Dremora baddies to get the gear, but also craft it. Much like, I think, Michael and the items gang just talked about. They're looking at how they're going to source it. I don't know if we're going to source it as chapters or if we're going to do it as a single book. They're going to see how things go over with the Dwemer. Right. See how that goes. And obviously, there's going to be lots of stuff to kill, to get loot, lots of XP. All the quests in here will have their experience and XP and gold cranked up to the highest possible that we can give you for more of a reason to go in there, and not only for PvP, but for PvE. So, you know, it's a lot of talk. I don't know if you guys have been in game yet today. So instead of talking about it, this is the entry location for Old Mary. I know there's a big hullabaloo about we only play Daggerfall. That's BS. I play Old Mary. But this is just an idea of kind of how it looks and how it sounds. Hey, we have sound. Our sound designer, Matt Conway, would be ridiculously happy about this. You get to hear that lovely robo voice that you haven't heard in so long.
Don't get me wrong.
Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the general will give you the gist of the story that, hey, it's taken over. We don't know exactly what's going on up there. Report to some of the Fighters Guild contacts we have up there. So he'll send you on a basic quest to go up into the districts. This is a secondary safe zone, exactly. Because right here, this door takes you out into the sewers, and the sewers has a little ledge where you drop down into the actual sewer space, actually get fighting and get rumbling, and you can be camped. There can be guys right here waiting for you.
You're going to get killed before you ever get.
Well, there's that, but there's also the fact that there's a door over here you can also use to go up and down. I know that there's going to be people camping it, etc., which is why we had the water. But also, this is something you don't see right here. It may be listed this location. No, good. You didn't see all those super duper buffs. Down here, and up here. Shut up! I cheat. Up here, much like at the back of keeps in 1.4 or 1.3, it was 1.3. There's a chain suppression pull zone up here. So as an ally, I can't gank people up here. Sorry, as an ally, in quotes. And also down here, there's back in the lower location, there's a suppression range for you not being able to jump up. So this area right here is safe. The range, you can actually shoot people that are down there. So in terms of the worry about getting camped, we've seen that this leads to a lot of fighting right here, but also the simple fact of I can just come down that door, pop through and kill people too. Also, we all know with Mage Light, I can find the stealthers that are waiting for me too. No siege is actually allowable in here. It's a funky, screaming server restriction where, for lack of a better way to word it, we can't have things get spawned in by the players in many locations besides Cyrodiil, because it chews up a lot of processing power on the server, and That's why you won't see things in here like keep walls getting blown up or some of the things that you're used to in Cyrodiil. But obviously the NPCs still have their collision. That's a client-side thing that we want to ensure. And plus the rats, you can walk over them. It's okay. You gotta change the lighting so they can see. Is that better? Darker? How's that?
Yeah.
No? Can you see your notes? Everybody, you need to adjust your eyes.
If you die in here and you don't own it, where do you spawn? Do you
Uh,
spawn inside to continue to fight, or do you get spawned outside?
Based on the size of this space, there's two major zones. There's the sewers, which I'm in right now, and there's also the districts. So we have a respawn point in the sewers because we didn't want it to be too ridiculously punishing. I know that there's the desire to kick you out entirely, but every single playtest we've had about it, that has resulted in people coming in and wanting to skewer me. So we know that that's one of the things that players want, a sense of kicking people out. But we don't want to be too penalty. My bow is not that badass. I have a cheat on. The mobs are not that weak. Don't worry. But that's just kind of like an idea. I'll show you where you respawn real quick if you want to see. If I can. Oh, hold on. You're going to see a lot of cheating commands here that none of you will be able to use. Sorry. Aw. Oh, I'm dead. I can't be killed. So you can either resurrect with a soul shard if you have one, or you can respawn at a way shrine, which in this case is the entry point of your sewer location. Or if you took a PvP death, you can respawn at a captured location in the districts. Speaking of that, I might as well hop up there and show you guys some of those things.
And the location, spawn location doesn't change if you own it or don't own it.
No. But the only thing that changes are the captured locations. If you own or don't own them, those allow you to respawn at them or not, depending upon, just like a keep. Like if you own a keep, you can respawn at it. It's the same functionality in here. If you own a district, you can respawn at a ledge nearby that lets you, pop up and you're okay. That's Eric Roble.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Right now, this is.
Yes, got a cheer.
Yes, you got to cheer. Nice. So the sewer entries all pop up just like this and come out into the territory. There's crafting stations. There's Clan Fear. But each of these crafting stations, they're locked unless you own the district. And some of those will give special gear sets. We're still nailing those down, what those set bonuses are. I'm cheating again, sorry. There's a big anchor. You guys should recognize that from outside of Cyrodiil. Now you can actually see it while you're in here. They're angry. So, some of these are very, very, very placeholder because obviously we're not going to ship it with a gray box and blinking discs. Some of these things are in the middle of being changed right now as we speak. But to give you an idea, you can see in your head, it's not a gray podium, but much more some Daedric stone with a Molig Ball sigil in the middle of it. That ray of light you should recognize from around keep flags to show you that you own it or don't own it. This is a purple color. Purple is not obviously yellow, blue, or red, which means Molig Ball can actually own portions of this and actually own it. When the anchor's in place, you kind of can see, hey, it's in there, bad things are happening. There's going to be some more effects with this to sell that. But when you come down here, there are these portals. Oh, my effect is gone. Sorry. Shh, you didn't see that. Oh, wait. Did I spell it wrong? That's better.
That's why I like the cheap ass podiums thing, right?
Shh. So, that then becomes open. You get sucked into a portion of Cold Harbor up above. I know some of you are going, oh, Cold Harbor, you gotta be kidding. But this is much more on the sense of you're on the offense as opposed to just trying to sneak through it and stay alive. I'll probably get a cheat down here. So here's a pinion. You should be able to recognize that from Dark Anchor work. But also, there's the Zivkin armor. You'll be able to craft that. That's the heavy. This is light. You won't be able to have those gross eyes, and that's a Grievous Twilight. You'll be able to make the armor and the weapons as well. And again, that'll be something that you can learn from the books or from the chapters. I know, it's terrible. I don't do these things on live, I promise. I'd be fired if I were. So, you siphon the energy off the pinion. Go by him. Go back to the market district. Now, remember, all that is PvP flagged. Like we've actually seen in tests people fight each other in that location. It's kind of fun. So these guys are now defending the pinion. If you are actually in this location when that buff gets activated on you, you see how my hands are kind of have this glowy look? You actually see these guys spawn in. Like, oh, crap, and then we now need to defend this. And I'm going to do this again. Whoops. Again, imagine that a sigil is getting sort of powered up, and then when all these guys defending it are dead, you're going to interact with this. And please, again, ignore the fact that this is placeholder fancy gray thing just doing a silly animation. It's amazing. So, yeah, I know. Ooh. So, now that pinion itself, right there, is Aldmerion. Boo! Huh? You can't see that, but you will be able to see the overall status of the district. Just like you can't see the general status of a flag inside of a keep, you can only see who owns the keep itself. It's keeping that same thing intact here. But yes, there's 3 of those. There's 3 of these things per district. And again, remember, this is also content. Sorry, 3. 1 anchor in the market, noble, and arboretum district. There's only 3 of these things. As you see on the greater big map. 1, 2, and 3. They all have 3 of these podiums or control portions that you have to flip to get to your side. And one of the other things to bear in mind is not only can this be flipped by from the Dremora control to your alliance, but also if an Aldmeri alliance flip this, and if Daggerfall or Ebonheart come up to it, they can interact with it and flip it for themselves. So there is a way to actually take it away from an alliance as opposed to having to have to go through the entire cycle of going into Blood Cold Harbor and flip it from Dremora. I'll show you briefly what this looks like as it stands today in terms of when the anchor flips. This is missing some sound effects, so it's going to sound like an old, actually nothing like this if you had it on mute. That goes away. There'll be obviously much more fanfare and effects and such like that. There'll be some what? Some bass, yeah, like on the stage at QuakeCon where my fillings rattled off. I swear to God, that thing was insane. So some guys come out, they defend it now. So you actually have a little bit more indication that your alliance owns it. Some banners appear on the buildings around it. And then if you die, you can actually respawn there. See how it's yellow, but when it's not owned, it's white. So it kind of gives you an idea of, hey, that side owns it. Also, your respawn point isn't out here in the middle of nowhere because we all know that you would just get ganked and killed. So we added a elevated location here. This is the place you actually respawn. So you can drop down, get back into combat, so you're not worried about getting spawn camped the second you respawn. It gives you a chance to fight baddies away in case there's some patrolling nearby.
You can't get chained up there, can't you?
Excuse me?
You can't get chained or
Nope.
dragon me.
There'll be suppression zones there as well to make sure you can't get pulled up or pulled down.
So this outer part, is this open at all times? So
Yep.
you can fight over it? There's
Yep.
No, you don't need to control the 6 feet around to get in?
As soon as you get in, you can stay in technically forever as long as you want.
In order to get in, you have to own the 6 feet around it?
Yep. You have to own your native. You have to own your native 6 keeps, not the 6 keeps around Imperial City. The 6 keeps around Imperial City will still gate Emperorship. What? Hey, that's good.
You might want to start kicking people when they die.
So, yeah.
I'm not leaving.
So if you lose,
You don't own the respawn point. You don't have a respawn.
You can't respawn in the district. Like, if I die right now, I'll do it. Why the hell not? Oh, durability
if
loss.
you lose one of your home keys while in here when you get kicked out.
No, you don't get booted out. That again, we noticed was a huge frustration point. And I know that there is a generational gap here that we're trying to span. I very much appreciate the hardcore badass side of PvP. However, we also don't want to make people just throw their keyboard across the room and say, F this, I'm never going to play it again, due to the fact that they respawn out in Cyrodiil.
I'm thinking new people do that.
Yeah, they'll flip a cube and they'll come back. So this is where you respawn, which is not a small means of traveling back. Like to get back to the market, I either need to travel through the sewers to go up to the temple or to the arboretum to get back up there. There's also a shortcut here, but it's in most cases it doesn't take you right back to that location. You need to hoof it to get back there. It's much like you need to hoof it in Cyrodiil to get back to the spawn location. There's no forward camps in Imperial City. That's kind of another big thing to make sure you know about. So you can't just use a forward camp to get back to a location quickly via death. That's not to say people won't have forward camps out at the entry location in Cyrodiil to get back in quickly. So this is kind of an idea of one of the refuges.
Why must they torment us? Why can't they leave
Poor
us
guy.
alone?
And this lets you get right back up to the Arboretum. Each district has one way up to it from the sewer, or depending upon if it's a capture district or not, one alliance will let you get back up there quickly, just like that from the Old Mary location.
Could you just press your map to be right there? Just so I can
Right about here.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And where I was before that was way up here capturing the market. Actually, the market may be recaptured, but let me jump here real quick. This is one of those. Hi, wherever that is. If you don't care, that's cute. This is one of those shrines we were talking about, where you can get some buffs that last for 8 hours. Yeah, that's super speed. So it's much like Mundustone. It gives you a nice little warning. This is what it's about to do. You just say, yeah, give it to me. To go back out? Helping your friends fight, do the PvP. It's more of a matter of, it just depends on what content you want to do. If you want to run around and do the Imperial City content, that's fine. If you want to run on a Cyrodiil, you can do it there. It's kind of another reason why in here, there is a cap on the zone as a whole. We're still nailing that down. There can't be, it can't be the same number as Cyrodiil because then everybody could flow into here at the same time. So it'll be a lower number than the amount we have for Cyrodiil, but again, the population is shared across both. So it is something we are aware of, and when we get into into PTS, I mean, that's technically a beta for this. We'll be watching those population caps much more intently to see what the right number is.
So there's no way if you don't have any keys in my alley, then my people there in the city come out.
If you come out, you can't get back in if you don't own 6.
And they will not kick out.
No, they won't get kicked out. No.
They want
If they want to stay in, they
will
can stay.
not help for getting the keys.
Right. I get what you're saying.
They haven't to help.
They have to help. If you log out, you can log back in the same location. Like if I log out right here, this is where I log in.
You have to control 6 keeps around the city together.
No, you own this. Your 6 home keeps. So these 6 if you're a Daggerfall.
Okay.
These 6 if you're All Mary. These 6 if you're Evan.
Ironically, Brian, this might help cure some of the lag issues of the population.
It may. It may. I've asked recently about what's been going on with 1.4. Why are things getting laggy? they're looking into it. And it may help, like you said, spread the population out, which would have less of a concentration of players out there. God, that's a nasty sound. It's so good. There's a Flesh Colossus. One of the... God, that's terrible typing. Everybody asked about the arena. It's going to be... you can hear them actually talking right now. It's not necessarily Dragon Star Arena, but it is a small wave event. Considering the fact that it is in open space, we couldn't necessarily do the same depth that the Dragon Star Arena does, but it is a wave event that I'll get to here to show you.
And this is all PvP as well, right?
Yep, everything is PvP.
And this is the very center circle of the map, right?
No, this is this portion
Okay.
right there. The center is White Gold Tower, which is not accessible at this time.
So if I can show up and just wreck you
Yep.
in the middle of it.
Yep. Which we've had happen. We actually put a gate here, and one of the fun things we've seen is a bunch of Ebonheart guys are hanging out here, just watching Daggerfall in their fight. God, it sounds terrible. And just waiting for them to finish, or get on the last monster, and then they jumped in and killed people. So, it was fun.
I think pretty soon the next thing after this is going to be White Gold Tower.
I'd love to say yes, but I'm not in charge of the mega schedule, so...
What's the incentive
For this,
for doing it?
when you complete these events, there'll be some treasure chests and loot that you get. That'll be one of the main sources of getting the Dremora Zivkin gear. When you finish off an event here, or in the temple, or in Elven Gardens, those are sort of the event story-driven districts. You'll get a better chance at gear. White gold. White, as in white. Gold as in I don't have anything goldy.
So, like, if you're on the last boss or whatever, and Ebonheart comes in and just wrecks your day, will they get the loot? Like, will they get the end thing? They can just wait for you to do all the work.
Mm-hmm.
And then
The chests are locked to those people who win it, or are they free for all?
I believe they're going to be based on whoever got the killing blow. The Overseer will hop down. Right now, this is...
Is it so would it be the party that got the killing blow, or everybody in that line?
Whoa! Hold on. I heard three at once. I heard somebody over there. For the events?
Yes.
The Elven Gardens and the Temple District. It's called the Temple because Talus doesn't exist yet. So there's some lore for you for the day. I heard another one this way and then that one.
Healers don't have a chance to add the loot then. It's going to be based off of who's on the event.
There is an event tracker that actually tracks.
So technically, if somebody else goes in and they kill you if they don't knock you off the event, then you're probably pretty good.
Hmm?
But we haven't actually tested that stuff yet. That's still in progress.
When the time comes.
Right. And there was one more over here.
Oh, that answered my question.
Okay. It looks like this is in an in-between phase. Sorry. But there's normally a game master up there. There's a bunch of guys cheering.
Is it like your classic overseer up there?
Yeah, they hang out. There she is.
Well,
Well, here we go.
welcome, my victims, to the arena.
Roll dodge. So, stage one
Dire cell the die fighter.
has him show up.
Choice is yours.
He eats people and kills them and stuff. Ah. Oh. So you have a certain amount of time to kill this guy. I cheated.
just wait.
Oh, that's Conway. Just ignore his name. I know. So then this harvester shows up. She's mean. She'll do some other tricks. There's the old orbs. We all know about those. Possessed guys.
Before she gets you.
Shut up.
Stay long. Electric surroundings. Find it. One first way.
I know that Robo voice is so entertaining. I know, terrible. It's like, oh my god. So here, she sends out her big boy. She's also firing down artillery from above, which is why some of this happens. So when he gets down to a certain health, she comes down here. Kills our sound guy. There's a lot of teleportation around. I cheated. So you kill those guys, and at this point, there'll be a little more fanfare that's not in just yet, but a treasure chest would spawn.
Suspended until the new game master appears. Survivors are free to go with courage to stay. Those who leave will be rounded up later.
And they say round it up later because, seriously. Oh, boo. Out here you see a bunch of people that are literally being rounded up. So that's just one of the activities, along with the capture district. We also have a variant. Go back to cheat mode. There's a variant on Dark Anchors in here as well, where they're tunneling from below. So instead of the Dark Anchors appearing above you, they kind of come out of these portals, so to speak. And these are also like mini wave events. Kill those guys, bad guys come out. There's a bunch of dead guys around me right now, so that's why they're not active. I'll just give you an idea. It's sort of another variant on shutting down a portal. And there'll be a treasure chest response in that case, too. So it's not just about running around free willy-nilly, just finding people to kill. There's lots of content to do in here as well. There's quest lines that lead you through each of the districts. There's quest lines that send you through the sewers. There's lots of mini-bosses and bosses to kill. So it's not just, like your typical run around and do a dungeon crawl. There's lots of things to do. Lots of people to kill when they get access. And I'm going to hop back here so you guys can actually see that it gets recaptured. But I'm also going to open up questions, start firing them away about either what you saw, anything happening with Cyrodiil, and I'm probably going to end up working this way to this way just so nobody thinks I'm being picky or anything. Yep, I am. Like that. Sorry, I know it's loud.
First of all, I'd like to compliment you. This looks awesome. Really excited about it. I had a question about what you said about PvP buff failures. So I heard you say that you worked with the campaign and then you were unclear as to if they'll extend into other areas?
Right now, we're making the buffs that are currently in Cyrodiil right now. Yeah. Those are going to be local only. We're debating whether we're going to make the buffs that are currently in there be local and not outside of PvP. That's the debatable portion right now. The thing we know is going to happen in 1.5 is if I'm in Bloodthorn, and I go to Hatteras, I'm not carrying buffs from Bloodthorn or Chillrang. I'm getting the buffs from my alliance that is actually in the campaign that I'm in. However, if I'm in, let's say, Aridin, I'm going to get buffs from whatever my home kind of campaign assignment is.
Okay.
So I know that's sort of one of the other things that is deemed as part of a problem. Hey, they recaptured it. Part of a problem that people are using the home buffs for raids and for PvE things, trials. That's why we're not quite fully convinced that we should rip it out in terms of having it be a PvP only.
Okay, so you're saying that the buffs may or may not continue being raised, or they will not be raised?
May or may not. We haven't sold one way or another on it just yet.
This is actually this is a pretty important topic for some of us. I know
Right.
some of us are in more PvP oriented factions, for for instance, EP in North America. Maybe we're just not as good at PvP, I don't know. Okay, we don't hold any buffs in it. So the point is, let's envision you're a player. You work 9 to 5, you come home, you want to win. You don't really PvP. Should you be forced to go out, secure a buff server, obtain all those buffs before you can compete in a raid? Because these endgame content events are only balanced once.
Right. And I know that.
The difficulty, there's not 2 levels of difficulty.
Yeah.
See what I mean? It breaks the raid experience for people who don't have it.
I think that the raid guys or trials guys are trying to make it so that the raids are not as dependent upon needing these buffs and treating it purely as a bonus. And the fact of you can beat it, but you don't need these buffs to do it. I know that there's a perception of, well, we can't beat it if we don't have them. And there's that in-between step of I have enough gear to be able to beat it and I don't have enough gear to be able to beat it. And this helps bridge it. I think they're trying to soften that blow. And that's why it's such a hard thing to say, shut them off or turn it off.
That really creates another problem now. Because if you balance the content to be, it should be balanced for no buffs. Okay, now if you have buffs, it's too easy.
Then you rip through it, right? That's why it's so.
So
that's why it's not
the only
easy.
real logical solution is for them not to be in these events like that. You can have them out in the world.
Oh yeah,
But,
we
I mean,
talked
it's
about
like
that.
breaking the balance in the game.
Right.
You don't think so?
I would love to speak on behalf of the trials team, but but I get what you're saying, that it is a very delicate line to balance whether you require these or they are truly a bonus, and that's why it's just not as easy as turn them on, turn them off. That's why any of the new buffs that we create from the divines, that is a PvP only buff, because we don't want to have this compounded more so, where it's like, well, we got to go to Imperial City now, and we don't want to have that type of feeling that, well, if I don't have the keep buffs, we can't do the raid. So we got the keep buffs, but now we need the Imperial City divine buffs, and now we need to go in Imperial City. We don't want to compound on top of that. So it's very much a case of we're looking at the game as a whole when we add anything from this point forward. But also the trials, we need to make sure that they can be done without them. It is a tricky situation. That's why it's just not as easy as going, flip, they're off, or turn them on. I get what you're saying. I know. It's a very tricky thing. Like exactly what you're saying. Some people work 9 to 5. They can't be on all the time to secure key bonuses.
Right.
And it's hard. So that's why it's not a simple decision purely based on what I think should be done. It's very much kind of a level of it goes to gameplay, trials, PvP, everybody. And that's why it's not that easy. It's kind of a group of us that have to decide it. And that's why it's just not my call. It's kind of on me, as well as Rich Lambert, the main content lead, Paul, all of us talk about what we're going to do.
Anyone else have a vastly different opinion about this? It's like a pretty big topic on my side.
I think people should quit their jobs and take it.
No, I have to say I agree with them. Like the PvP buff issue is a major issue for those of us who are clearing at the top level. I think myself, DB, and Mist currently are the ones that have cleared Dragon's Star Veteran, and obviously it's been a major point of contention for all of us as to the difficulty of the content based on the PvP buff, and it has significantly affected it.
Yep. That's why, again, getting back to that point, it's not as easy as just saying we're gonna shut them off. Just like, hey, yeah, no problem. It affects the whole game, which is why it It hasn't been turned off yet. That's why we are or aren't going to do it. We're still debating about it daily. Working my way over. Yep.
I'm gonna make a suggestion. Can we make resources more strategic and valuable?
Yeah,
right now they're all pretty much the same.
we've thought about doing that. So whoever's phone up here, by the way, their battery is low. You want me to hit the OK button? No? Okay. Yeah, we've actually talked about making the resources have a little bit more meat in terms of either having them affect the keep walls and doors more so, and have the keep walls and doors much weaker initially. There are many ways we could go about doing that. But yeah, we've talked about it. And it's one of the things that we can do. Bless you. That isn't a heavy load on any other systems in the game. That's something we can change internally. We've talked about doing things along those lines too. Yeah.
Something about in-person.
Sure.
Is it ever going to be kind of tailored towards rewarding the people that are actually leading? Because an emperor should be
Right.
a leader. And what an
Not just the
emperor
person on
today
the
is the guy that has
AP.
the most time to grind out his AP.
Yeah, we had several systems written up prior to launch that we were going to do sort of, this is going to sound silly, pyramid schemish, much like the sense of, leadership points, so to speak. But it just got too much to be able to get in for launch. We are going to try to see if we can reorganize that system later on. But it's very much one that I know of. Well, the guys on top of the leaderboard can just be the guys that are the AP farmers, or the guys who run out and just group up and figure out a way to get the most AP by either getting the defensive tick or just face rolling everybody. So I get what you're saying, that it should be the leaders.
Like I personally found 9 emperors, but I'll never.
No, you'll never be one, exactly. Yeah. Yep, I get what you're saying.
It's just kind of frustrating, and especially being the person that's usually the guy getting the crown is the most egotistical, self-absorbed.
The guy going, go here, why didn't you go there, you prick, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's sitting there trash talking the entire group of people.
Yeah, and then they get the
He's
emperor.
the guy that's gonna be emperor if I do all the dirty work.
Yep.
So,
Oh.
yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you were already there, so. I'm going to hit him then. I promise. Okay, your turn.
I was told to ask that there are quite a few objects that you can use in Cyrodiil, like barista and the oil and wall repair kits and all that stuff. And you use them on the same quick slot menu, and you use a buff food in the dreams and all this. And I was told that it is so much that another quick slot menu just for PvP items would be nice. Like you have it for baits, because you always have to think about which items can I pick with me in my quick slot menu. If I also have to have my free buff, if I have my free potions and my buff food, and then I only have place for this, and I can pick this with me, or I have to switch it, and another quick slot.
I'll bring that up to Chris and the UI guys.
And even on that, if you can fix the quick stop thing when you try to choose something in the quick stop menu, that menu is jumping up and down.
You're trying to move and
it
yeah.
resets. And, you can spend 5 minutes literally just trying to slot the ballista.
Quick fix for that is in your inventory, pick it up, and then you drop it in.
Yeah. Didn't know that. Good tip.
Yeah, I'll pass that stuff along to the UI team. Sorry. You remembered?
Yes, my guild was wondering if you can increase the radius of the defense sticks for defending a keep.
That one's tricky because that varies on a keep by keep basis, based on proximity of where the resources are next to them. We have to actually paint those things out. It's not as simple as a circle radius. So in some cases, we can expand them, but they may bleed into a resource location, and in that case, you wouldn't get a defensive tick or a capture tick at the resource. But yeah, we can look at some of those if you have. And you're already away from the tick, right?
You gotta run back. You can look at
Yeah, we can take a peek at some of those. But we'll see what we can do. Yeah.
Can you increase the speed the ticket goes at?
Yes.
That would be the easiest.
We've done that once. I can do it again, but remember that the tick would also result, if it's a faster tick, it would also result in fewer AP getting distributed. That's the only thing. I got no problem with making it
fewer than none.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We thought about doing that. The only worry about that is marking the record on the player that they earned credit, and that's another bit or two on the server that it always has to track. It's a great idea. It's just a matter of storage and tracking and bandwidth that the server has to worry about monitoring every frame. So it's definitely things we've thought about. There are conversations I've had with our lead engineer about putting credit differently. Right now we have credit based on the person who's killed, not as the person who's doing the killing. Possibly reversing that may fix some of those things. But they're still figuring out what's going to be the best way to do it.
So back when we had issues with the mercenaries,
Right.
we just come out of the game,
Mhm.
they weren't helping players so much, had detrimental gameplay. In open beta, I played in there, we had, mostly honest, we had the two main groups, and then we had a covert op group go in and beacon walls that we would know where it's weak.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's when people didn't have forward cams.
Right.
So
But now they have forward
now
cam.
there's forward cams, and if you hit map, I don't know about the other campaigns, but on DC, almost every keep has one in it,
Mhm.
whether it's under attack or not.
Mhm.
So if people are dying, you see
Like, oh, I respond.
I'll respond.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more demoralizing than having your group at the front door. You have 3 guys up on the wall looking for forward cams, but then in that one tower, one goes up, and then they just pour out.
Yeah.
And that to me is breaking the gameplay.
That's where we're talking about having it so you can only respawn at a forward camp within the radius of a forward camp.
Can you
That's-
take them out until you fix that?
We've thought about
Like
doing that.
bugs?
We thought about doing that as well. Our first step is increasing the cost, not increasing the cost, increasing the requirement to buy them. If there's still issues, we can, like you said, shut them off for the time being. I know there will still be issues.
Because when we're raising the rank, you need to be able to buy them. The people that are low level, they don't have the AP to be able to buy them. The people that are the high rank are the ones that are buying them in bulk.
And
It's
then,
not going to help the problem. You just got to compound it.
yeah, there
Because then
is.
the guilds that are farming the people that are doing this tactic are the ones that are going to have the camps to be able to do this. The people that are getting farmed, they're not going to have the AP to be able to even get anywhere other
Right.
than home day.
That to go with that question, are they mailing it to themselves or putting it to banks? Because we are making them no trade as well. We are trying to make them no trade. There's some crazy restrictions on that.
They
So
sell very well in the store.
oh, I know they did.
10,000 gold each.
There are some other things that we can look at with those. Like I said, I know that they are a big issue.
To make that mean,
Yep.
like any place you die,
Mhm.
find forward
And then just go.
Can
Right.
you make them so you can only put them outside of the keep radius or the objective radius? Because that way they're least exposed.
That may be doable because we have an alliance restriction already that you can't put them into an enemy one. We can probably just adjust that so that you can't put them in any.
Because then at
That may
least
help.
it's exposed. And it's not like they spawn up in some tower that you can't even really get to without getting obliterated.
As long as posting yours is properly approved, there's nothing worse than a friendly forward camp in front of the posting you can't use.
Yeah.
One of the things we looked at is we actually had members time how long it takes to walk from one keep to another, and it was like a minute and a half.
Mhm.
And then some people are saying, well, I want Call of Duty, I want to get in the battle, I want to be fighting all the time. And I bring up the PvE side of if you die in a trial, you would be sitting there for 5 minutes while they finish the fight.
Mhm.
What about those people that want to get back in? Like, is waiting 5 minutes too long?
For
In our time, we timed it, and if we have transit lines, a minute
it's
and a half.
quick, yeah. That I remember that same argument internally many times. Ben can attest to this as well. Like Cyrodiil was built over the course of 4 years or so, and it was originally conceived with the concept that everybody would have 100% speed mount as well. So that minute and a half to 45 seconds worth of time, depending upon if you're mounted, running, sprinting, anything like that. Lots of the tests were deemed, oh my god, that's too much. Right. And and you spoke about two of the crowds that are at war, so to speak. Call of Duty, Halo, FPS. I need to fight right the hell now. RPG, traditionalists, hardcore. We want a war. No, you lost. You got to come back. Along with the concept of horses moving as fast as they move now, that could be another reason why forward camps may get shut off after this first chance. We're going to see about the respawning radius, possibly not respawning near, dropping them near a keep at all. I know Atropos and Andrew has some things he wants to chime in on this as well.
And my last point, also, with the removal of them, making people run, you don't have 20 people drop out and another 20 drop out.
Right.
And you have 40 people sitting in one spot in the middle of the battle. Moving people throughout.
Moving more people.
And then spreading that way.
Yep. That goes back to making supply lines a real thing again. Yeah, I know that in other games, a lot of the supply lines were ripped out to promote much more traffic after the fact. This could be one of the things we end up doing as well to promote more foot traffic. I'm pretty sure it's going to be seen as what the hell, you took away my fast means of getting around Cyrodiil, but also it may be a positive in the long term to get more people to move around and get more open field fights. The first step is doing the requirement. If that doesn't fix enough, I know everybody in here is saying it's not going to be enough, but we need to actually put it in, see how it goes, and go from there. I'll get to you next.
It's monumentally hard for me to choose one question about Cyrodiil. But if I can piggyback just really quick on the board campaign, it seems like there's a really simple way to win with everyone by maybe considering a special rules campaign, like a hardcore campaign or something.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, there are two crowds. There's the crowd that wants to jump in, have easy access right into the fight. And there's the people that want a more authentic, more unforgiving, more engaging PvP experience. And I don't see why you can't cater to both.
I do get that we can cater to both. We actually had our first semi-attempt at that with veteran, non-veteran, 30-day 14-5.
That's not quite the dimension.
It's not the quite. Yeah, it is definitely one of those things of a first shot at it. I think that doing a much more hardcore rule set, not necessarily permadeath or anything like that, but much more traditionalist in terms of you get the supply line and your horse. Good luck. That could be an option.
Anyways, if I can keep an actual additional question.
I know you're a big man.
So I'm wondering a lot about your long-run vision for the structure of alliance points and alliance points rewards and PvP progression and how you grow your character through PvP, because I feel like, I guess as a day off veteran, and then even in comparison to other games that aren't quite as much like the PvP rails, there just is not really PvP progression in ESO. I don't feel like people really care about alliance points. I don't really care about alliance points. I would like that to matter more. And I'm wondering how you're adding more places to fight, but should there be an element of just more than just PvP just for fun? There's also some way that you're growing your character because there's not.
We have talked about, Eric is in here too. He can kind of chime in on this if he wants to. We've talked a bit about expanding the Alliance skill lines to be a little bit more meaty, but nothing too in-depth just yet. I do think that there are opportunities there to expand on the Alliance point system, not just for gear, not just for potions, but for investment in my character.
I mean, it really relates to the issues of that, right? Is that at the moment, like, APs are met, but like the only real reward is that.
Right.
very much you're either first or you're nothing scenario, and that's disappointing for a lot of people. You're either first or you're nothing, and I mean if you're not first, you get APs, but
Yeah, what are you spending on? I got gear. Okay. Yeah, I think that.
Right now, too, there's no cap on gear, so if we release a new season of gear, you can just buy everything if you have all the AP, right? So if you can only get a certain amount at one time, then when we come out with the gear, you can buy one piece, but then you have to play for a while, like too late enough to buy more.
Well, I mean, like Eric said, that is one means of progression. I get what you're saying, though. There isn't the. I spec my character out for crit and stealth mastery right now. But then this patch came out and it made that class do this instead, so, I need to respec my character to be able to do this instead. I get what you're saying, that there is a little bit of an opportunity missed there where we could take alliance points and expand on character development a little bit more. I think that is something we would like to do in the future. I don't know where that stands right now in the grand scheme of things, however. But yeah, I very much would like alliance point progression, as well as just PvP as a whole, to give you a little bit more character depth. Not just the fact of, I got my 5 skills and my my passives from the alliance. Sorry, 6 skills and passives from the assault and support lines. But we're seeing what we can add.
One, using the resources to be able to actually upgrade the keep. So if you hold the keep, you have the ability to add additional defenses to it. 2 additional siege machines, like breach towers, things of that nature. 3, like the DayZ system where zombies spawn on players, how about having groups spawn on groups of PvPers and drop a bunch of data? And 4, which actually connects to the point that was just made, a group of our membership was interested in adding more positions other than Emperor. So, the examples that they gave were things such as if you held a certain keep, like really low keep, you could become a baron of that keep, and it would give you defensive bonuses when defending that keep.
Okay.
And it would give you more, once the Emperorship was taken, it would give you more positions to kind of aim for. So there's more functionality out there for people who actually want to compete to get those different positions.
We actually, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. We do have the ability to add, this sounds stupid, a runner-up. Yeah, like Seneschal or, Emperor's Little Buddies list and skills that we can add in, maybe. We just never got the time to add it because it requires a lot of extra work to be done in terms of making the abilities and the PFX and all the other things to do it. We do have the option to add in runner-up rewards for the Emperor, like the next 10 or 20 people in line that would have possibly been the Emperor, or people that actually helped them out. Local keep buffs or something else, kind of like what you were talking about, making yourself a Baron. Would a local keep buff kind of do that, or do you want to like just one person is the Baron?
I think local keep buff where, someone, the faction officer has the keep, and then someone can kind of be declared the Baron of that keep, and it would of course for people who want to defend certain keeps, because you have a group of people that want to defend it, because you get bonuses for defending, and they also get to keep the title of the thing.
Maybe if that particular person claiming the keep is at the keep where it's being attacked, they get like some AoE back for everyone who comes in. Again, not overwhelming or anything like
Just
that.
something like an extra.
Something to aim for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Something that makes it worthwhile.
Brought up with the idea that from them, where if you are moving the lumber mill, you get lumber from the lumber mill to reinforce
The doors,
on
yeah.
your
Yep.
right? Taking the other
They're passive.
I know we talked about that a little bit before launch, but it was one of those things that's pretty involved in terms of adding UI.
I mean, we could do some stuff, honestly, where if I own the lumber mill, we spawn interactable wood piles that you can then use to repair the wall.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Stuff like that, yeah.
Anything to give people a reason to own these things.
Maybe if you're assaulting, have a ladder.
A ladder that shoots out really far that you can run across. Effing blur trailer.
Have some questions to the Imperial City.
Yeah.
What's the point to hold all the 3 districts, and what's the point of the 3 other districts, and is there a leader
Yeah. There are some big bad bosses that are hiding in the sewers as well as that pop up in here. If you own all three, there isn't any sort of meta. You own all three because they get recaptured within 10-15 minutes, maybe, Ben? Right. So it's more of a matter of just reinforcing your position in Imperial City to be able to respawn in Imperial City up in the district. It's kind of one of the main bonuses. The other main point is that I know they're not appearing on the map right now, just the one, the dye station. If you own a district, either, if you own the market district, the crafting stations in here actually open up for you where you can craft the gear, where if you don't own the station, you can't craft the gear. And we're looking at having the market district, the noble, and the arboretum. Each of those will have a different set bonus in terms of the gear in each of those. So the set bonus from here may be just crazy thing out of my brain, extra crit damage. Another one may be extra pops a blade turn, and another one may be, I don't know, you run faster. Who knows? If I own that district, yeah, and you can only craft it if you own that district. Right. That's the immediate, like right now, thing. Besides the fact that you can respawn at it. The arena, yeah, the arena, the temple, and the Elven Gardens, they're much more story driven, and that'll be sort of kind of where you get a better sense of what's going on in the city as opposed to what do I get out of the city for me. It's more of a matter of they help tell a bit of a story to it as well. In the temple district, for example, they're trying to kickstart the plane meld again. That, in the beginning when you get stabbed, when you create your character, they're trying to do that all over again that you help stop. So it's a little bit more of a story-driven area, but also you get gold and loot, and there'll be treasure chests to find. There's a new gear access thing that we're adding in here called Imperial Caches, where if you kill various Dremora and NPCs throughout the territory, you'll get a key. And it's going to be an Imperial key or a Daedric key. And then if you find a Daedric or Imperial chest, you can unlock that chest and then get gear out of it that is very specific and fancy, like blue or purple or higher. Not just yet. I know what you loot from players would be awesome, but yeah.
There's all this PvE stuff.
Yeah, we're working on trying to get more stuff into PvP. The entire team right now is focused on getting this to you guys first, and then we hit Cyrodiil as we can in stride with this. It is tricky to balance the two. I won't lie. I watch the forums and fix what I can and bring it up to the engineers when I can, and we fix what we can. But making sure that we get this to you guys in as good as possible of a state without ripping resources out of here to put in Cyrodiil to add more robust systems. It's a tricky balance, and we're doing our best to keep everybody playing Cyrodiil while getting this done. I would like that. I'd like that very much to do so. Yep.
I have two questions. One is related to how the people who get motivated to get into either the third city or just to continue the war according to Cyrodiil. As you said, we have a lot of alliance points today. There's nothing you can do.
Nothing to spend it on.
Yeah, and also for the alliance ones, we have the same problem. Past the 124, there's no reason to go beyond this cap.
Past 24, there's no reason to go beyond it?
Yeah, once we have reaching level 24 and 30, you are around 10 in the alliance skill tree.
Oh, I get you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
So there's no reason to go beyond this point. And also, if you look at all the bosses you can find in the Imperial City, my expectation is that you will take time and spend a lot of effort to get these bosses down. But what about the reward? The reward is not that great. People will be
Yeah, why do I go in?
To always make sure that people are well rewarded for their effort. That's very important. So I would like to know if you have plans to
make sure that this will be the case. And also, okay, it still really looks great because I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of great fight with the other faction in Cyrodiil that there was in Dark Age of Camelot in the Abyss dungeon. And but what will make the people get out of the Imperial City? Do you have some plans like increasing the buff of the Spade of Scrolls? So when people get an alert about the Scrolls being stolen, they will be willing to get out.
They go out to help it? Yep.
And defend that.
Which order do you want? We'll go in the first order. The first order in terms of alliance rank beyond 24 doesn't net you anything with your skill lines. Again, we're looking at expanding the skill line tree from assault and support. That'll be obviously more stuff you can strive towards getting. The cap, in case anybody was curious, is alliance rank 50. But like you said, after it's a long cap, yeah. We are looking at expanding, going back to kind of what Andrew was asking about, what point and purpose do I have for continually PvPing to advance my character? We are looking at expanding the alliance rank abilities to see what else we can add to it to have you progress more towards higher ranks. We've toyed with the thought of putting in alliance rank specific gear. We haven't put that in just yet because we're a little worried that it may be too elitist. But people like to exactly, that was the other point I was going to say. People like to show off. Yeah.
There were some people that was a proposing system where the stuff that you can add either in the city or even in Cyrodiil would be linked to a certain rank. So when you reach a rank, you unlock
other things
to wear this gear,
Yep.
for instance. So that would be a new motivation for people.
Yep, we thought about doing that too. Going for the Elder Scroll buff question. That gets back to, during the presentation, we talked about reanalyzing the Elder Scroll buffs to make them a little bit more quote-unquote sexy. When you lose them, we want you to feel like you should go back and resecure those things. That'll help pull you out of Imperial City. To go along with that, we are also looking at the keep bonuses. To go back to the question about the PvE requirement of we need the bonuses to do trials and raids, maybe making them as a holistic change across the board for when people try to do trials with the buffs, making the buffs a little bit more interesting as well, not just a simple crit bonus or weapon strength bonus. So we're looking at all those things to make sure that people just don't stay parked in here 24/7.
And is there any chance that those progression is ever linked to the new champion system? For instance, when you get a certain rank in Cyrodiil, Alliance rank, then you unlock some passive abilities that you can then buy with your champion points.
That'd be good to bring up to the guys' next presentation, right?
Yeah.
They come up next.
I think that's linked.
Yeah.
Same thing for PvE, for instance. You can get you can have a high rank in the undaunted skill tree, but to a certain point, then there is nothing you can earn, so you are blocked in your progression. There is no more you can do. So what I would expect is that for PvE, but also for PvP, you can unlock some new passive abilities, and then you spend your champion points to buy them. But that would be a part of progression for PvP.
Yeah, that would definitely be something. Remember to bring that up, obviously, in the next one as well. I think Paul and Maria are going to be talking about champion system next, but remember that to bring that up to those guys too. Next, I'm going to go back now. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've thought about, we've increased the experience that you earn from player kills up to, I think it's something like 4 times a monster kill right now. We've talked about increasing that again to help speed up the rate in which you can get experience from player kills. The behavior noted from the kill players was the reason we changed it to daily. We didn't just want players to run out to a bridge, get the 20, and then suicide to get the quest again to go back out there, which is why we changed it. It wasn't necessarily that they were gaining experience too quick or any of that types of worry. It was just more it was promoting shitty behavior, for lack of a better way to word it. So we are looking at bumping up experience gains from player kills. That's another reason why all the experience that you gain from inside here is cranked up as high as it can possibly go. But yeah, I'd like experience to be faster for sure. I think they may be doing that in update 5 or update 6. One of those two. Still not enough. Yeah, it is. The thing that's the big difference between the two is that PvE you have an expected rate of gain because you can run out to an area and you know you're going to find monsters to kill and you just chew through them. Whereas in PvP you can go out and you may find people to kill. They may kill you. Yeah, I know. It's tough. I get it. Yep. We've talked about increasing the XP and the VP. Next to Andrew. Yeah.
Okay, so I have 2 comments on Imperial City and a question. The first is in your sewer section when you're showing the zone where you have 2 doors, one of them is raised and the other lowered with that water section.
Yeah.
I just wanted to comment on, as the opposing faction, it would be really, really easy to gank and completely deny that whole area. Because of one pillar I saw that was right in the corner of the room. There was a pillar where you'd be able to hide behind it, and you'd be able to kill every player coming out the door, but also pick off all of the people coming through the water. Because when you're in water, you're completely vulnerable. There's nothing you can do if somebody attacks you. That's why I find it so hard. Like, as far as you come in.
Yeah, we thought about lots of solutions for that. We may be able to pull the water out because we have the chain and the jump suppression abilities. That may help. But yeah, it's definitely one of those tricky things where the reason we put the water in the first place was because people were chain pulling people up or dragon leaping up from the ground. So we're like, okay, fine, let's just put water there because you can't do jack. But now that we have the subzones in there, maybe we can pull it out. It's something that me and Mike can work out to see if we still need it or not. The other complaint we would then need to worry about is, oh my god, I took falling damage. Not as much, but I get what you're saying. There's definitely something. Yeah, sure. Well, if you put stairs straight up, like you could do a double ledge. But there's got to be a ledge for sure that they just can't right up and yeah. There's that door down there, but then people could be chilling out right here, just like, come on out.
So it's actually behind. If you turn around there, right there, behind, next to those boxes right there, you would easily be able to kill anybody who came through the door, and then just around the corner is the pool. Right?
You can hang out here or here.
You could easily kill people coming up the stairs out of the pool as well. I'm just imagining this from my point of view. This is exactly what we did.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that we'll toy with a little bit more about this water. I know that we put it in initially because of the Dragon Leap Up and the chain pull up issues, but we managed to get some new tech that actually suppresses the range of those abilities, so you can't yank and you can't jump after we put this in. Huh? Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is. I mean, how big is the sewers? As big as another zone I can't mention. That you guys ask about all the time.
What if you put a cascading waterfall down in front of it so people can see coming out the door, so the people that you jump to the water from the waterfall, so we can use the cover coming out the level.
So like right here?
Well, see up the platform is? Yeah, that's like you have a waterfall there, and then people can't physically see.
Oh, they can't see you. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
and then
yeah,
you can just jump through the waterfall into the water, and it's kind of be often a surprise.
I get you. That's a thought too. Mike.
Okay, so that was.
Oh crap! Yeah, sorry.
That was just one of my
Sorry.
comments. The other one was combat. The flag. So when was
Mhm.
the control of that chain in the
Yeah.
Imperial City. Currently in the combat log, you can actually see those flips, and you know anywhere in the world what has flipped. And that's currently in the game for keeps as well. Like if I'm approaching keep, I can see that the flag is flipped, even though you're not supposed to know that. I don't know if that's intentionally in the API, but that is something that's there right now.
I can ask. I mean, a long time ago, those things used to be broadcast, like center screen broadcast.
Yeah.
We got yelled at a lot.
Yeah.
It's what people wanted, but it was also just spamming the ever-loving hell out of you. But I'll ask Chris if he wants to keep it or not.
Yeah,
I don't see that.
essentially right now, like if a group is trying to sneak in and get a key, we are able to see in our combat log that that is happening and respond to it immediately. And I can understand how that might not be exactly what's intended.
There is. I know that one. It just exposes the stuff that we suppressed from the client. We'll work your way back to you guys, but you're next.
Can we use siege weapons in the Imperial City and pursue it?
Sadly, no. We can't have players spawn them going back to some of the server restrictions that we have on the zone. Yes.
I have about 120 comments to spare everybody here. And my back is getting up to pass those.
Holy shit. Fucking Bible.
That won't be a while.
Exactly.
Which one do you want me to answer? It's like,
You can either read them or make paper planes out of them or do whatever.
I'm just kidding.
We actually feel that that's very often what happens with our comments in the forum.
No, I read them all, and I actually answer to I answer to your post at one time.
Which I appreciate, and I'll reiterate to you what we said one time when we had our Boy Stomps chat.
Yep.
Is that Cyrodiil for me still is, and I've been solidly MMOing for 17 years ever since you originally came out. It is the most beautiful, most wonderful, and expensive place to PvP ever, and that opinion hasn't changed.
Thank you.
My biggest concern, and the biggest concern for our community of the North, is that I love everything that's being seen here. I'm excited about it. My concern is that of the 450 members that we started, because of what's happening in Syria, and that's primarily the lack of response on the side of Zenimax to exploitation and to things like emperor farming. And I know you don't want to overreact and have knee-jerk reactions and kind of like overkill stuff, but it has driven hundreds of the members of our community away from the game. That if we don't, and the current lag situation, the disconnects that we have right now, you add that on top of the frustration that is created with the perceived non-existent policy with regarding exports. And I know you guys are looking after it in the background, but the perception
They
from
don't
the
care.
player base is very different to the reality of the hard work you guys are doing here. And my concern is, I might not have people
To keep
left
playing.
here
Yeah.
to enjoy this.
I get what you're saying. Yep. And a lot of the times when we see some of those behaviors, I've actually talked with some of the heads at the CS location. Like the first time when it was patch 3, I think, Jess called me up. God, I think I was at E3 when Jess called me up and said, there are people behind enemy gates. What do we do? I called up Rich Rasmussen, one of our leads at CS. I said, can you post people just behind the gates to watch? And I think that they do action them, but it's just not public that they get action. And I think that could be part of some of the perception.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need like a public list like some police stations put up. I mean, prostitutes. We don't. I'm all for your naming and shaming policy on the forums and everything like that. What I don't get is that if a video is being posted, and I'll use the example of the invulnerability exploit.
Right.
If a video was posted 5 weeks ago,
It's still just posted 5 weeks ago.
it was posted 5 weeks ago, and we finally got, I think it was earlier this week, or actually it was towards the end of last week, after 5 weeks, we get a small post saying, well, we've seen something where we can tweak a couple of things. It's, to be quite honest with you, it's just perceived as being wishy-washy instead of saying, you know what, we're a new game. We all understand that you're a new game, that there are going to be bugs, that there are going to be imbalances. I think we all understand that. But we also want to feel that the kind of like, or at least a large part of our player population wants to feel that their best interests are at heart, rather than instead of defending this one person that is exploiting, and I'll call it exactly what it is, even if you guys won't, that they have immunity for such a long period of time that they don't want to fight this guy for 5 weeks in a row. It's like, oh, you know what? And we're not on forums here, but you know, Bleach is online. Okay, well, we're not going to go.
We'll just go
fight
away.
over on that side. We're just going to go. I'm going to log out and I'm going to go play Archage, or I'm going to play League of Legends and come back in maybe 3 hours time, and hopefully they've had their fill. I mean, these to me are the kind of things that are destroying the player base within Cyrodiil itself that I think really needs such a look at.
Yeah, I think having some more interaction with you guys will help with that. The visibility from our side, in terms of, we know about it, type of responses. I mean, I put up the responses that I can when I can.
Which is so appreciated, then you get crucified.
Of course, whatever. Jess has recently sent out a company-wide email to saying, hey, look, if you guys want to post, feel free to post. They'll make sure that they don't say anything like you guys are jerks and F you, we're not going to reply. But they have put out a concerted effort to make sure that we have a bit more of a presence on the forums to know, hey, we know about this, and it's not going to take 5 weeks to get back to you. I can't promise it, but there is a motion internally to try and get more presence on the forums and more sort of, hey, yeah, we are listening, we are watching. I know I do it just as often as I can, but I would obviously love more interaction with you guys more than I can, for sure. You still got to do this, right?
You know, I'm keenly aware of that, but it's as I say, we have to have the players to play the game.
Exactly. It is a game that requires other people, especially in Cyrodiil, and that gets back to some of the things like trying to nail down the post-turn door. Like, I know that was an issue since launch, and trying to get that thing nailed down, rather than
even for me, literally almost criminal to sit and watch the Emperor farming for so many months after it was reported, and almost on a weekly basis see the player population.
Just, we can do this, we can't do that. Yeah, I get you. We're working on getting response time faster, not only on the forums, but in-game as well. It's just a tricky process to make sure we don't curb stomp current content as well as plans with what we may need to do as a knee-jerk, or what we need to have CS or our community engagement team get in touch with people. I try talking with CS directly when it's like a major issue. Like when the guys can get behind enemy lines and drop forward camps in your starter location, like that's when I called up CS immediately. I was like, come on guys, we gotta have people posted to watch this stuff. And they did.
So 4 weeks or 6 weeks later, it's still occurring.
It's still a problem, yeah. I know.
That's my point.
And that's stuff that we can pass along continually. Jess and Gina and I keep harping on it, like keep watching it.
Why is it you don't issue the people a 3-day ban and just tell them, hey, you know what, you're fucking the game up for everybody else, we're not going to tolerate it.
I wish I knew. I don't do CS. I know what you mean. That's a good point. I get what you're saying, and sadly I don't make the CS policies. I started out in CS, God knows how long ago, at Mythic, but I get the frustration. Welcome. I'm going to sweep back over here, so I'm going to go. Sorry, I'm going to go as quickly as I can, or we can just have you guys rush and go each other.
I was just, real quick, I was wondering if there was any way to get to BO rank in Cyrodiil.
Yeah, it just takes forever.
Well, I mean, once you get there, how do you complete the Kill Ball?
Oh, that one?
It rolls over. Yeah. It rolls over. I've leveled from level 10 to level 13 children.
It just takes a lot.
Yeah. You don't get to be able to get the whole harmony in the same one.
population is a huge issue in Cyrodiil.
Yeah.
Is there any way to like implement dynamic locks or whatever? So
Yeah, we thought about that. We thought about doing some things like that where if this side has 100, then that side can't get above 100 until they all equal 100. We've talked about doing some things like that. We talked about
then it could actually, maybe spread people out more different servers.
Yeah. Yep, we've talked about some things like that. We haven't gone full bore on any sort of population changes along those lines just yet, just because the resources. Not yet. No. We've talked about variance in scoring, variance in population allowed, having a better soft cap, so to speak. But
it works when everything's even.
But when it's uneven, it's crazy. Yep. We're good. I'm going to try to beat Gene and cycle to you guys real quick. Yeah.
I'm just interested in hearing your thoughts on like more of the single player, like solo style of PvP. I really enjoy that, and I feel like over the past couple months, and I think some of it may relate to forward camps, but I wanted to get your opinion on it. But I was really enjoying being able to go and sit in supply lines and very strategically maybe pick somebody off or whatever. And every time lately that I've ever tried to do that, it's like you get that guy down to half health and then you're hit with 10 of his friends, and it's just like tons of zergs everywhere. And from somebody that enjoys playing solo, not necessarily always in a group, I'm wondering how Imperial City is going to impact that. Like, is that more of like a smaller scale PvP experience, and also like what your thoughts and plans are for just generally the future of Cyrodiil and like a solo player's experience?
This has to be the last question. That was Paul telling me to shut up. I'd like to do more solo content. That's sort of what Cyrodiil is focused on adding as well. Imperial City is added, but going too far beyond that, I can't speak as far as the plans for having more solo content. I do think that while one person can make a change in the war by going out and dropping siege weaponry way out, that's not enough. It needs to be more like I can actually kill people.
I know like some people like myself just get even like I get a big rush from just like beating somebody one-on-one.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the things I really enjoy about PvP itself.
Some of this stuff in Imperial City will help with satisfying that to a degree, but obviously there needs to be some more work. I love the answer, but Paul is here to talk about things next. Andrew, if anybody else has questions, send them over to Jess and Gina if you have them. I'm guessing everybody has lots of stuff ready to still ask. They can get it to me and I can answer you. But thanks for watching. I hope you guys like this. Thank you. And this thing is just about dead. It's not dead yet. It's like that close.
Break time.
Everybody, there's a break now. So get some fresh air, some fresh drinks, whatever you need.
Anyone wants to take like a little studio tour for 10 minutes?